Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, and I'm your host Chrissy B. Now, what did Daniel Radcliffe, Richard Branson, Cara, Delevingne and Albert Einstein all have in common? Well, they've all lived with dyspraxia, otherwise known as Developmental Co-ordination Disorder, a condition that affects physical coordination in children and adults. Today, we are delving into the condition with our resident psychologist Dr Audrey Tang, who shares tips on how to deal with the condition. Then we'll be hearing from this week's special guest, Ross Foad, who has suffered from dyspraxia amongst other mental health issues since he was 11 years old. Nutritionist Severine Menem will be giving us her tips on how nutrition can help with dyspraxia and associated conditions such as dyslexia, but in fact these tips are also great for anybody looking to keep their brain active and healthy. She'll also be giving us a recipe for delicious 4-ingredient cheesecake stuffed strawberries. Later on, we feature Share, a charity who offer training and employment support for disabled people, as our good cause of the week. And then I'll be giving you tips courtesy of the Dyspraxia Foundation on how you can manage your anxiety. Now, dyspraxia affects around 10% of us here in the UK to differing degrees and is thought to seriously occur in around 2% of the population. It often occurs with dyslexia and is known to run in families. On the mother's side, there's a 37% chance it will be passed down. On the father's side, it's 60%, and if both have it, there's a whopping 82% chance that the child will inherit the condition. Often dyspraxia is identified between the ages of 7 and 10. However, due to the age of discovery, some people in their 30s and above are only being diagnosed now. Dyspraxic learners have rights as disabled people, and as is often the case, the earlier an individual is identified, the better the outcome. Well, we wanted to hear some of your thoughts, so we took to Twitter to find out. Jessie says her diagnosis is clearing a lot of past issues. Wow, I'm thinking about my diagnosis, especially dyspraxia and motor issues, and a lot of struggles I had when I was younger makes so much sense. Richard says, if it wasn't for the physical aspect being ruled out by dyspraxia, I'd love to be a manager in wrestling. Never mind. Myla has had enough. She says, I have dyspraxia, so I have a hard time using a ruler, and it's not my fault I'm slow. Susan, being a supportive parent, says, so proud of my daughter who has dyspraxia. She'll be making that pizza on Wednesday and doing her talk this week sometime. She tries so hard. Elid says, meal prep when dyspraxic is an extreme sport. And Cam is thankful, saying, a year ago since I was diagnosed with dyspraxia, thank you all for the love and support on my road to recovery. So thank you very much for those comments. Well, now let's hear what Dr. Audrey Tang has to say on the matter. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thank you for having me, Chrissy.
Another very interesting topic today.
Yes.
Something we've not covered before, actually.
I'm so glad you're covering it, because it is another one that is often misunderstood and not really well known enough.
Okay.
But a lot of people do suffer from it. About 10% of the population are diagnosed with dyspraxia. Mm-hmm. But I wonder whether that's because only 10% have gone for a diagnosis.
Know what they have. Okay. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about it, first of all?
It's a developmental disorder, and it affects fine and gross motor skills, coordination. Often it's noticeable in children, and children with it will have trouble often getting dressed, maybe being able to handle a fork and spoon. It might be a case of affecting sometimes personal hygiene or personal presentation. Mm-hmm. Gripping a pen or pencil would be difficult for them. And with that, they're likely to also have learning difficulties, purely because they're not coping with the actual practicalities of learning.
Okay. Now, it is quite closely associated with dyslexia as well.
It is, yeah. You've got dyspraxia, dyslexia, dyscalculia. They're all learning difficulties, but they're not. You can't grow out of them, but you can learn to manage them, and certainly you don't need to let them hold you back. Okay. They are related in the fact that with dyslexia, for example, it's almost very difficult to perceive the words themselves, and that can then give rise to problems when you're trying to learn languages, writing, even mathematics, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And dyscalculia is almost an inability to see the numbers. So again, that can cause learning difficulties as well, because if you're not able to keep up with what the class is doing, it's not as easy for a teacher to say, okay, well now read alone the 2 or 3 paragraphs in your textbook, because that becomes quite difficult. Mm-hmm. And when you get any child who struggles, perhaps through no fault of their own, because it could well be just due to the disorder itself, and the expectation of the teacher is, well, why haven't you done that? It becomes very difficult. And of course, that child, learning is very frightening. That child doesn't want to fail. And especially if they like you as a teacher, they don't want to fail in front of you either. And that's when you often get a child who is genuinely struggling because they have a problem, but not knowing how to express themselves about the problem, perhaps because they don't know what it is. And that's when they start acting out. Okay. And so it all ties in. And of course, the minute a child starts behaving in a troublesome manner, then you don't want them to disrupt the rest of the class. So you end up putting sanctions in, and that's very difficult for the child.
Whole array
and
of
it's
things,
a whole
consequences.
thing. Yeah. And the worst thing is, dyspraxia can often be associated with ADHD as well. But then you could argue, well, is it because that child is having difficulty learning that is causing them to behave in a slightly more distracted way? Or is it that they can't sit down and focus and concentrate? Because, of course, if you are struggling holding a pen or you are struggling to write, you do have to focus on that one task.
And that must be so exhausting for them as well.
Incredibly. When you think about this is a child we're talking about. It's hard enough for adults. With computers and technology, we will find it hard to sit there and write a whole essay, but for a child who's learning to do it, this is where you sometimes get the quick fixes. I'll put them on a computer. Let them use spell check, which is fine, and it can help them learn. It can still at least keep them up with the rest of the class. However, you've got the danger of, well, then I never want to learn to write because I can just let the computer do it and it's just too hard.
Become dependent on it.
Yeah, and that can be a problem too.
Okay. That's, what about then in adulthood? What kind of mental effects would this have on a person?
If one of the things I have concerns with at school is that teachers are very well-meaning and they want to support the child. So what they do is they will offer extra writing lessons or extra math lessons, whatever it is, because the core subjects are the ones that everyone focuses on. However, in order to do that, they tend to take them out of music or drama or some of the more termed frivolous. My background's drama teaching,
creative.
so I love, but you see, the thing is, in drama, in music, they are learning creativity. They're expressing themselves in ways that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And they may be able to verbalize something that they can't write down. They may be able to paint something that they can't express in any other way. They're working together with a team. If they're not doing well in sports, for example, they're going to be picked last, and that feels awful. So if you then take them out of the subjects that they are actually succeeding in and put them into subjects where they're already failing in and giving them more of the same, it's very difficult for that child to really understand that they're good at something. And that worries me. That concerns me with schools. And so if you've grown up with that experience, then actually you've never learned to succeed. And that's the bigger problem than the disorder itself. Because in a way, and I know the difficulty with disorders such as dyslexia, dyscalculia and dyspraxia, where you can't see them, they're not physical manifestations. It might just be that someone turns up a little bit ruffled. In a way, the blessing can be that you can't see them, because then it doesn't hold you back. No one's going to label you with, you've got this, you've got that. But if you have had a struggle learning in the first place, and then all of those interventions have come in which have been in a way counter to what you want to be doing, that can be a problem that follows you to adulthood. You've never had the chance to succeed in something.
Okay. So what happens during childhood is very important. But say, you know, if it didn't happen and that support wasn't given and they were taken out of the things that they were supposed to be left in because they're more, you know, they were better at those kind of things. Now they're an adult, but they've gone through all this. It's not too late, is it, Audrey? Because they can still get creative. They can still do something that they like.
Absolutely, it is never too late. The one wonderful thing about behaviour, it is dynamic. It always changes, and you can always find that corrective experience is the term for it. But if you find someone who believes in you, it can be absolutely anybody, and you can meet them at any point during your life. You will realise that actually you can succeed, and or you may actually just find it in yourself as well, because it might well be you think, well, if the school's not going to support me, I'm just going to show them. And sometimes that's the drive that gets people to do it. And as I said about these particular disorders, if no one knows you have it, then maybe you can get away with it as well. And,
that's a good one.
You know, and I think sometimes, you know, being a bit ruffled, or that can be charismatic.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be a major problem, but you learn ways of coping.
Yeah.
And sometimes your ways of coping can actually be better than anything anyone can prescribe, because you've come to it through trial and error yourself.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is, don't let that make you defensive over things. It doesn't mean just because you've been doing it this way for your whole life, because no one else has believed in you, that's the only way to do it. Just always remain open.
Brilliant. Audrey, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week. Yes. Thank you. All right, everybody, one of the most important things to remember when you are suffering with any sort of condition is to not allow it to get you down. Well, comedian Dave Chawner took that a step further and decided he would be the one to make others laugh in the wake of his eating disorder. Now he speaks out about the disorder regularly in his comedy to raise awareness, as he explains here to Pax Brown.
Hi Dave, how's it going?
Yeah, good, Tom. Good.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you a bit about, you're a comedian, right?
Yes, apparently.
And so what is your act today? What are you going to do?
And we tend to trust fat people, right? Not around food, obviously, but that's such a low shot, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that is everything that I'm against. I hate body shaming, I really hate that. But the point is that will always get a laugh, and I think that's really interesting. And when I started doing this show like 3 years ago, people were really uncomfortable. They didn't like the idea of people talking about under-eating. And like genuinely, I did the Leicester Comedy Festival in 2014. It's the third time I've ever done that show. And a review in the Leicester Mercury said that a bit that I did on bulimia was too gag heavy, right? Some people say it's typified as a female disease. I find that interesting. If you read the statistics, 10 to 25% of sufferers of anorexia are male, and about 40% of bulimics are male. For me, it wasn't about like vanity. It wasn't about it wasn't really even about body image. For me, it was like about addiction, obsession, and control. So I'll kind of give you an example. I became obsessed with sort of exercising, and no matter how little I'd eaten, I'd run upstairs and I'd do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups and 20 squats, right? When I was 17, I started sort of being actively anorexic. And the thing that I found the toughest was everyone always talked to me like I was some fragile thing that I was going to break at any point. Oh God, mate, I think you got a problem. Or it was like really dramatic, people crying and screaming. And to be honest, I felt isolated from that. It was either too extreme or too careful. I think that we have quite a bad attitude towards mental health in the UK, because like anything we don't like, we tend to sort of box it up and ship it off. Which is how we created Australia. I've been doing comedy for a while now with no success, and I thought it would be good to use that lack of profile in a positive way and actually sort of like talk about something that meant something personal to me and be that person that I needed when I was 17. So the show kind of starts off and it talks about my story and how it kind of went, but I'm actually trying to make it a bit more raw at the moment because I'm still going through recovery, and I recently found out that I'm now overweight, which is wonderful. I came to comedy later, and I remember like, yeah, we used to go to this club and I saw people like Chris Addison, saw people like Russell Howard and Jim, and all before they were kind of like big. And the thing that I loved about that was that they were talking about being broke, they were talking about being single, they were talking about like they weren't doing stuff with their lives, and they were taking really serious stuff, and they were making it hilarious. And I really loved that, and I thought if I could do that, that would be absolutely incredible. And that I guess that is the ultimate goal for me in comedy, is to say something but also to make people laugh as well.
Well, everyone, after the break, we'll be hearing from Ross Foad, who'll be sharing his experiences of living with dyspraxia. And also, we have a question for you. Video games, are they good or bad for people with dyspraxia? Find out after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your TV programme for all things related to mental health and well-being. Now, before the break, I asked you if video games are good or bad with those with dyspraxia. The answer, maybe surprisingly, is that they are good. The coordination, problem-solving, interaction with people, achievement and motivation that comes with playing video games is proven to help those with dyspraxia. We're here to share his experiences with the condition, amongst others, is Ross Foad. Welcome to the show, Ross.
Hi, Chrissy.
Do you play video games?
I do indeed.
Do you find that it's quite helpful?
I definitely would say so, yes.
Yeah? Okay, brilliant. So there you go. We've got proof here. So, Ross, tell us about yourself. When were you actually first diagnosed with dyspraxia?
With dyspraxia, it was aged 11.
11, okay.
Basically, growing up, my mother knew there was something a little different about me.
Okay.
The fact that I would fall over constantly, I was terrible at making any sort of really simple decisions. I would answer everything with, I don't know. I was horrendously withdrawn, shy, and my coordination was just all over the place. I could barely walk in a straight line.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So
from what age did she notice this? Was that like sort of pretty much from
very
when you started
early
walking?
on? Pretty much about age 4 is where she really started to notice. But she said even before I was quite withdrawn as a baby. Anyway.
Okay, interesting.
So she was absolutely insistent that something is different here, and she went to all these doctors and health authorities that simply told her, no, he's fine, he seems of reasonable intelligence.
They ran tests and everything, did they? Like,
and this is before they would, it took her a while to get me seen.
Okay, all right.
Eventually...
Just look at you and just say, yeah, he's fine. Yeah.
Eventually she got me tested for, I don't know if it was specifically dyspraxia, but I remember going to all these different places and having to do things like walk down corridors, try and catch balls, put like squares into little shapes, and I don't really recall remembering or questioning why I was doing it. I just went along. Eventually, she kept insisting, and I kept going to these places, and eventually, age 11, I was finally diagnosed with, I had dyspraxia.
Okay. So your mum was quite persistent, wasn't she? It was good that she was.
And so it just goes to show that often mum knows best.
Yes, it's true, it's true. So Ross, tell us about how this actually affected you growing up at school and things like that.
Growing up, now I'm going to try and focus more on how dyspraxia affects me on the physical side, because I was also diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, but that comes later. I wasn't aware of this at the time. I'll go into that later. But growing up with dyspraxia, I'd say one of the biggest problems that it causes for me was how it affected me in PE, specifically because the lack of coordination, not being able to catch a ball, not being able to throw a ball, just being barely able to walk in a straight line. It wasn't really. I didn't go around talking about that I had this, even when I did get the diagnosis.
Okay, so they weren't aware that there was...
It wasn't really a big thing then, anyway. And I didn't really, I was too shy to talk about it anyway. But it really affected my confidence, because where I went to school, you had to be good at football, you had to like football, and if you didn't like it and you weren't good at it, then you were weird and a bit useless.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Wow. So it really repelled me from enjoying any sort of team sports or anything involving ball games. I mean,
was that just the opinion of like the other students, or was that also the kind of general feeling among the sports teachers and stuff as well? Were they supportive or?
No.
Oh dear.
Sport teachers, unfortunately, PE teachers were not particularly, and so
that must have made it more hard.
I didn't look forward to it. More for the I was petrified of being humiliated than anything else.
Okay.
It wasn't so much that I didn't necessarily actually like the physical activity, but it was the fact that I knew I was going to get made fun of.
Okay, so anything to do with team stuff, it was difficult?
Did not like.
What about just sort of sports in general, like individual things where you weren't part of a team?
That would be something I discovered later on, which would help me, because I very much enjoy individual physical activities, things like walking, rollerblading, just going to the gym.
Rollerblading?
Oh yeah,
Really?
that's surprisingly that I'm good at it, because otherwise my coordination's terrible, but for some reason I can do that.
Wow, okay, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a strange anomaly I have. Yeah. But anything involving a ball or team sports, no.
Okay.
But yeah, all of that, it just made me feel very, growing up, it affected my confidence a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And coupled with the fact that dyspraxia makes you naturally shy. If you're naturally shy and you're having your confidence shattered every day anyway, it's really not a good combination.
How did you deal with it though? How did you cope with those kind of feelings?
Initially, for the longest time, I didn't really know how. I just internalized everything, and it just made me more and more withdrawn. It was only much later on when I started to embrace my creativity, where I really managed to sort of turn around how I felt, about it.
How did you actually discover the creative side then, and what are you actually doing now today with that?
Well, I discovered it sort of, I'd say around about 13 or so. I started to write comic strips with a friend of mine, write and draw comic strips with a friend of mine, and we actually got a publishing deal in the local newspaper.
Oh, that's nice.
Age 13, and so that must
be so exciting for a 13-year-old.
It was. It was incredibly exciting. We thought we were super famous.
Oh.
And that's really sort of where everything started.
Okay.
And that was finding something I was good at, and it made me feel, it made the other stuff not matter as much.
It's true, sometimes when you find that one thing that you're really good at and you can really put your all into, it doesn't make such a massive difference, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, wow. But today, Ross, you're also acting.
Yes, I am as well.
So how did you get into that?
For myself, I come from an acting family anyway.
Okay.
So both my parents are actors. And I suppose in a way, I somehow found myself doing it as a child. But because of everything that I had, the confidence issues, even though I was supposedly reasonably good, because I managed to get an agent and go to auditions and everything, because I still lacked a lot of confidence, I would say get past an audition, get to a recall, get to another recall, and get so close, and then not have it, then lose out, and it would just knock my confidence even further. So I actually stepped away from it for quite a long time, about 7 years. And it was only really when I picked it up again in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, where I started to feel much more passionate about it and myself, and that's really where I managed to sort of turn my life around by being able to re-embrace the creativity, which just the sort of negativity of everything I'd been going through just sort of drew it out of me.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're doing is incredible because, you know, you say earlier, you explained how, you know, you get shy and not confident, but there you are doing acting, coming on a TV show to talk about this. You also have done radio interviews. So I think that takes a lot of, you know, guts to do that.
Thank you.
So I think that just goes to show that you don't have to be limited by any condition that, you know, you have. That you can still go out and make things of yourself and do well in life.
Absolutely.
Ross, what advice would you give to someone that maybe has been diagnosed with something like this and is feeling the way you used to, like, I'm not confident, doesn't want to talk about it? What advice would you say?
I would say if you have something that you love doing, no matter how niche it may be, if it makes you happy, and so what I often find is people who are on the spectrum of some sort often have tremendous talent somewhat in some unique or niche way. It just might take them a little time to discover it, but it's kind of like in the way that, say, a blind person has, even though they can't see, they have compensated by enhanced other perceptions. I believe that on the spectrum there are some things you might struggle with. There will be something in there that you are going to be able to compensate for it in abundance. For myself, it was with the writing and acting, because the way my mind works, comes very easily to me.
It's a gift.
Thank you. I would say that if you find something that you enjoy doing, really to embrace it, go for it. Because with myself, with doing the comics, you would think that would be a very positive thing, but we actually had a lot of teachers that were against it, and my friends' parents were against it as well, because they saw it as a waste of time. Should have been doing schoolwork.
That's what happens when people don't understand, isn't it? First of all, what you're going through and what actually makes you happy, and what drives you.
And that it was our life doing these comics. They made us really happy, and obviously, it was sort of driven out of us in a way. Particularly my friend, because obviously, though I had my parents' support, he didn't have his, and obviously I needed him to do them, and so it was a horrible knock-on effect, because as that petered out and we stopped doing it because of all the pressures of teachers, parents, that's where a lot of things started to go wrong for me, because I had found this thing that had made me happy, and it didn't matter that I wasn't good at PE and was made fun of for being quite an awkward person, and when that was taken away, that's when things started to go a lot more downhill for myself, and I didn't have that creative outlet.
But then you rediscovered your creativity, which is when it all came
acting and writing. So.
What about future plans, Ross, for yourself?
Future plans, just seeing where all of my sort of writing and acting is taking me. I'm just enjoying doing it, and just see where it goes, really.
Have you ever revisited the comic stuff? Or?
I've written for other comics since, on a smaller basis, but not one where I've created one myself.
Maybe that's something you'll be doing
maybe
in the future.
something, I don't know.
I'd love to know about that.
Possibly somewhere down the line, but I tend to do more script writing for film and other bits as well.
Okay.
At the moment.
Ross, thank you so much. It's been absolutely lovely speaking to you, and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Do keep in touch and let us know how it's all going. And as I said, I think you're very brave to come on TV and talk about this, and it's lovely to be able to raise awareness actually for something that we've actually never spoken about on the programme before. So it's great. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Hello and welcome to Bristol, guys. Today we're visiting Yurt Lush, an amazing restaurant which is situated inside 3 yurts, and it's just really beautiful. It's a short walk from Bristol Temple Mead station, so shall we have a look? Hello. You must be Daisy.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Pax.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. So this is the beautiful Yurt Lush.
Yes.
What a great venue, by the way. Amazing. So
Thank you.
it's 3 yurts.
Yes.
And they're joined together. So was this built purposefully for the restaurant?
It was, yeah. So when it originally started 3 years ago, it was only supposed to be a temporary event, and it was just a pop-up bar for 6 months. And then it went really well, so we just kept getting the license renewed. And then, 3 years later, we're still here. Our entire focus is basically on being a sustainable restaurant. We recently got awarded 3 stars as a sustainable restaurant from the SRA. So it's all about using seasonal, local produce, as much organic produce as we can get, fair trade, direct trade,
Could you tell me a bit more about the decor as well, because it's really lovely in here.
Yeah, of course. We keep it quite simple, which means that everything needs to be absolutely perfect, but we want to keep it really light and natural. So a lot of it is reclaimed as well. All the doors are reclaimed, front doors from various different locations. The wood behind the bar is old floorboards, so all the black dots are little stiletto marks from
no way, that's brilliant.
So we kept it all very, very low key, but as a result of that, it's really got to focus on the attention to detail to make sure that everything runs absolutely perfectly on a day-to-day basis, and that it looks, it's always spot on, even down to flavouring the water, which we do to make it like a little bit more interesting.
Oh, you flavour the water with your own herbs, I imagine?
We do, yes.
Wow, isn't that great?
Homegrown rosemary.
Oh wow, that sounds delicious. Can't wait to try that. This thing about repurposing seems to be very popular in Bristol. It's just amazing, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. Bristol is probably one of the biggest cities that are really putting a lot of effort into looking after our planet. There's loads of places around here doing amazing things with organic, sustainable kind of practices, loads of reclaimed furniture everywhere. The wood reclamation yard down the road is one of the busiest places here, which is great.
And obviously, yeah, you've got a stove here as well, I can see.
We do, yeah. So this is like one of our main sources of heat throughout the winter. So it's a nice wood-burning stove that we had installed when we first had the venue. And we get that going on a daily basis just to keep everyone nice and toasty.
Yeah, and in fact, it is boiling in here, so I'm just going to take my coat and I'm going to take a seat and meet my colleagues, and we're going to have some lunch, if that's okay. Brilliant, thank you.
Well, don't go away, because nutritionist Severine Menem will be giving me her tips for those struggling with dyspraxia and dyslexia. But first, which of these is an early indication that your child may have dyspraxia? Is it A, irritable and difficult to comfort, B, feeding difficulties, or C, sensitive to noise? Find out after this. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Well, before the break, I asked you which of these is an early indication that your child has dyspraxia. Is it A, irritable and difficult to comfort, B, feeding difficulties, or C, sensitive to noise? The answer is all three. Fortunately, there are many clear signs that your child may have dyspraxia, and there are many guides online to help you spot these symptoms. Well, as is often the case with such conditions, getting the right nutrition can really help. So now we have nutritionist Severine Menem on the show, who'll be giving us some of her top tips. Hello, Severine, and welcome back to the programme.
Hi, Chrissy.
So tell us a bit about dyspraxia, first of all. What can actually help with these kind of conditions, and also other related conditions such as dyslexia and things?
Well, research has found out that actually people suffering from dyspraxia and dyslexia have a deficiency in omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
So the good thing would be to eat a lot of omega-3 fatty acids food, which are usually oily fish, or to have some supplements, or to actually help the food that helps absorb all the fats.
Okay then. So, I mean, omega-3, again, coming up
omega-3
so much. It's just so wonderful, isn't it?
Absolutely. It helps with a lot of conditions, yes.
Okay. So, Severine, we also have some questions from the viewers, and for one of them, you're actually going to be demonstrating a lovely recipe. But let's ask the question first. This person is asking, or saying, I have trouble sleeping. Which foods and drinks are best for helping me get to sleep at night?
Okay, so the sleep issue is a big one, and just having something to eat specifically won't help. I think that most of all, it's important to adopt a very healthy sleeping routine. First, to stop any electrical device 1 to 2 hours before sleep. So we mean smartphone, tablets, television. Hopefully, cutting up the Wi-Fi would be helpful as well.
Yes, yeah. Good idea.
I know, I'm a bit unrealistic, but that's the ideal world.
Yeah.
Also, having some kind of sleeping routine, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, sleeping 7 to 8 hours would help. Sleeping in a very nicely refreshed room where everything is tidy also helps.
Yeah.
No light, no noise, but that's an ideal world.
Yeah.
With food, there are some food that really help because they have the L-tryptophan amino acid, and this amino acid helps building the hormone, the melatonin, that helps with sleep. So we're talking about turkey, chicken, dairy products, and nuts and seeds.
Okay. So today you're going to be using quite a bit of dairy in your recipe. Yes. What are you going to be making for us,
That's the point. I'm going to make some cheesecake-stuffed strawberries.
That sounds so naughty but nice.
Yes, but it's full of dairy, so it's supposed to help with sleep and enjoy also your evenings. So we're starting with whisking some cream cheese. So we're going to use a cup of cream cheese.
Okay.
Oops. I need to move everything a bit. Well, actually, I've measured it, so...
Yes, it's already a cup.
So there's no need to put it in a cup first.
Okay.
Ideally, it's better to whisk it with an electrical whisker.
Okay.
But mine is broken, so we have to use it the old way, the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
Because it brings some fluffiness. Okay. So you should do it for 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes later.
Yes. Then you add some thick cream.
Okay.
So half a cup of thick cream.
And we're talking about full. We should probably use the full fat here, right? Because I don't really like the low fat stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to use the full fat.
Yeah, I think it's always best to use the full fat.
And it's more natural, isn't it, Severine?
It is more natural, yes, and organic if possible as well. For everything of animal origin, organic is always best because the toxins are stored in the fat.
Okay.
So if the animals are not fed properly, then you get all the toxins from.
Okay. Do you want me to stir that while you carry on?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
and actually, you're supposed to put the sugar. So a quarter of a cup of sugar. With all that.
If you don't want to use the white sugar, is there anything else? Is there anything else you could?
That's why an electric one is usually better.
It's coming up.
Yes, there are lots of other options for sugar, but I don't think they're necessarily better.
Okay.
For example, you've got the alcohol sugar, which like stevia and so on, and some people get bloated because of that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So as long as you don't take that much sugar, I think it's okay to have a small one.
Yeah. Guys, use an electric one, yeah? Because this is...
Yes.
But this is so fun, look at that.
Yes, it
What's the next stage then?
The next stage is to prepare the strawberries.
Okay.
So you just chop off the top and the bottom, and then you can either have a piping bag, but I don't have one at home. So what I do is I take a common bag, a plastic bag, I fill it with...
Okay.
Like that.
Oops. DIY one.
Yes. I don't like to have too many fancy gadgets in the kitchen because then I don't have space for much.
That's true. Too much clutter.
Yes.
Yeah, we both were doing that, don't worry. That's nice.
Okay, I like that. And then you cut the very bottom one, just a corner. And you press.
Okay.
And then you fill nicely.
I never thought of stuffing strawberries before.
Well, hopefully.
Can't waste these bits from the inside though.
No.
Yum, yum, yum.
Oops.
So
And
nice.
then decoration, very important. Chocolate, you know how much I love chocolate. Oops.
And I love chocolate and strawberries, my absolute favourite.
Well, then I picked the right
Yes, definitely.
treat today. Here we are. Shall we try?
Yes, definitely. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's delicious. Can't let you go yet. Right, we have another 2 questions.
Okay.
So this one says, I find that I get ridiculously bloated when I'm about to have my period. Should I be avoiding any particular food during this time?
Well, unfortunately, PMS is a very strong thing for many women, and bloating is a very important symptom. So yes, there are a number of foods that you can avoid.
Okay.
I mean, the viewer can avoid. Obviously, salt is the main food to avoid because it retains water, so obviously the bloating gets bigger. But you've got also the sugar, alcohol, chocolate, unfortunately.
Oh, everything like people
yes,
love, right?
that, all the fatty foods, the fried food, because they are difficult to digest.
Okay.
Also, a lot of people don't tend to digest the beans and lentils and so on. So you've got the solution to really soak them and to cook them thoroughly, but sometimes it's not enough. You've got some type of vegetable, you know, the cruciferous, like broccoli and cauliflower, people tend to bloat, and gluten, unfortunately.
Oh, that's interesting, okay. Any foods that are good for bloating then? So you've got the foods to avoid, but anything that will kind of make it go down, or?
No.
No, just got to live with it. Okay. So
well, if you eat some bitter food, that might help with getting rid of the water. So that's a rocket, that's radishes, this type of thing. The very bitter taste.
Sorry, girls, it's just something that we have to put up with until menopause, and then we'll answer some questions about menopause, right? Okay. But let's go to one more question, Severine. Yes. This person is asking, how do I find out if I am a healthy weight for my age?
Okay, that's a very interesting question because there is no such thing with weight and age. But I found the best way to figure out if you've got the right weight is to take a tape measure and to measure your waist.
Okay.
So the waist.
I'll do it on me, I want to know.
Oh, on you, okay. So I'm going to explain. To measure the waist, you have to find out where the bottom of your ribs are.
Okay.
And then the top of your pelvic bone, and to find pretty much in the middle.
Okay.
And then you measure.
What ideal weight would
okay.
Be. Okay.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay, so
I'll tell you how far away I am.
Do you know where the middle is roughly?
Yeah, my belly button. Yeah.
Okay, so that's roughly between the top and the bottom. Yeah. Okay. So let's try.
Take my necklace out away, not to give me extra inches.
Okay. Well, you're perfect. You're 79 centimeters.
Okay.
So ideally for women, it should be between 80 centimeters and 88. And from 88, you should start losing weight. And for men, it's between 94 and up to 102. And after 102, you should be losing weight.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because in this area are all the main organs. Yeah. And when you've got like big belly, usually it means that you've got fat surrounding the organs. And it's very dangerous. You know, it increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular risk.
Okay.
So.
But is there like an ideal weight then, or is it just by?
There is not an ideal weight. They really found out that it really depends on the waist.
See, we always want to know like the weight that we should be at, don't we? It's just like a common thing that people do.
There are so many tools. You know, there used to be the BMI, and there used to be a waist to height ratio. But I think this one is the one I would use most.
Okay, brilliant.
Because the ideal weight is where you feel the best and you look the best.
Okay, so you can measure me again when I've let my belly out after during the break.
Yeah, I forgot to say, you know, that obviously, you know, when we eat, we've got a bigger belly. Ideally, you should do it early in the morning when you wake up and once you've been, you know, to the toilet.
All right.
you usually have a flatter belly and
that's
you look
true. That's
nicer.
the only time I weigh myself. First thing in the morning after I've been to the loo, not eating anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do things.
Severine, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chrissy.
And we'll see you again very soon.
Great. Thank you.
Well, guys, after the break, we'll be featuring Share, a charity who offer training and employment support for disabled people as our good cause of the week. And I'll be giving you some tips on how those with dyspraxia can manage their anxiety. But first, is dyspraxia more common in males or females? Tune in after the break to find out. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Well, before the break, I asked you if dyspraxia was more common in males or females. The answer is that males are 4 times more likely to be affected by dyspraxia than females, which could equate to around 7% of the population. Well, now we're always looking for good causes to feature on the show, and today we turn our attention to Share, a charity who offer training and employment support for disabled people. Let's go over to Julianne to hear some of the work that they do.
Hi Hi guys, Julianne here, and today we're joined by the lovely Sarah Bales.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and she is she's going to be telling us today about the great community, Share Community, and all the wonderful things it does. So Sarah, what is Share Community?
So Share Community is a charity that's based in Wandsworth, and it's basically set up to help people with mental, physical and learning disabilities to get qualifications and get back into work.
Oh wow, that's excellent. So exactly what kind of qualifications are you talking about?
So we're actually an accredited centre for City and Guilds, and most of our qualifications are in IT, maths and English, catering, so we have a full catering kitchen.
Oh wow.
We actually have a 2.5 acre garden and do horticultural training.
Yeah.
And the whole process is that people get qualifications, get work experience in real life experiences, and actually get into the world of work afterwards.
Whoa, so what's the most popular thing that you train for?
For me personally, because I'm the training manager of horticulture, I have to say horticulture.
Oh wow, okay.
But I think that probably catering and horticulture are two of our top favorites because it's a physically doing activity, which is a lot better for some people with mental health issues, learning disabilities, things like that, maybe not sitting in a classroom so much.
Yeah, so and you get an array of different types of people.
A massive array of people come through it. Every single person is totally unique when they come in, and we actually tailor programs to specific people and their own needs, so everybody's different.
That's really, really good. So like, in regards to the people with mental health issues, do you like, so say someone that's struggling personally with depression, they can come in and like train for something that ends up helping their depression whilst effectively educating them at the same time?
Absolutely. So we have a fantastic wellbeing team that actually assesses each person in an individual basis. Do you want to do a whole day? Do you want to do a half day? Do you want to do a couple of taste days, see where you fit in? Do you get on with people? Do you hate the people that are in your class? Do you need to change what you're doing? So it really is completely up to that person. Good days, bad days, doesn't matter. It's always at the pace of the own person. So if it takes 2 years, if it takes 6 months, that's fine. It's just as an individual person.
It's completely tailored to the individual. Okay, yeah, that's really great. And in accordance to people with physical disabilities and other like ailments, how do you help them in regards to that?
So a lot of the time, some people can come in, they may be wheelchair bound, or they may have some physical strength. Quite a lot of the time, people just haven't had a routine in getting up and coming in for a session. You know, that's quite a big deal, getting up on time, having to get to work. We have a lot of transport buddy systems that actually help people get to us. So before people even got through the door, they have to go through a process of ensuring they have got a transport buddy or a taxi or something just to get to us to start with. And then we slowly build up what they can and can't do. So we have a lot of programs that are actually tailored to fitness and well-being. Go from healthy eating, so we have a smoothie group, they take things from the garden that they grow, judge them all up in really random smoothies. So we're doing wheatgrass at the moment, which is homegrown.
Healthy.
Really nice. Pestos, things like that. It can be jacket potato of the week that they learn at home how to do microwave cooking. One of the aims of the charity in the next few years is actually to have a flat and focus very much on independent living. How people do ironing, how people do the washing up, how can people take care of themselves, whatever their needs are.
You're essentially teaching people how to live for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's an incredible thing.
Absolutely.
So is it anyone from any age range?
So usually we have anybody over the age of 16 come and use our services. We are working with a couple of deaf schools in the local area, but usually it is really over the age of 16 is what we're looking at.
Oh wow, okay, Well, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
It was lovely to talk to you and like to share, like to hear you share what Share Community is all about. One last thing, where are you based?
So we are based at Clapham Junction, and the garden itself is based in Springfield Hospital near Tooting.
Okay, well you guys
come and see us.
Exactly, see them. They're amazing. They do so many great things for so many great people. And thank you so much for sharing it. Yeah, thank you.
What a great charity there, and thank you so much, Julianne. So now I'm going to be covering some tips, and these come courtesy of the Dyspraxia Foundation and are great for anybody struggling with their anxiety, but particularly those with dyspraxia. So the first point they mention is to, of course, eat a healthy diet. So they're saying to avoid stimulants such as coffee, cigarettes, and energy drinks, as these disrupt your sleep and make your heart beat faster, making it harder for you to control your anxious feelings. The second one, of course, following on from that, is exercise. So regular exercise can really help to boost your mood and help you deal with your unwanted feelings. So they're suggesting to find a physical activity that raises your heart rate and makes you breathe faster, and that you enjoy, of course, and make the time to do this activity several times a week. The third point is to sleep well. So a good night's sleep is important for our mental health and well-being, and we did a show not too long ago titled 5 Ways to Get a Good Night's Sleep. So do head over to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show, to watch it there, and don't forget to subscribe while you're there too. The fourth point that they suggest is to know the triggers. So keeping a diary may help you to establish common things which trigger your anxious feelings, so you can then begin to deal with them. So write down when you have managed something successfully and underline it to remind yourself that you can do it. Another strategy is to plan a script to help you make decisions and respond appropriately in situations that you find stressful. For example, maybe answering the phone or asking for help at a train station and starting a conversation. Then another point that they also suggest is to don't manage on your own. So it's good to share your feelings with someone who understands you and is able to help you as well. Of course, that goes for any problem that a person may be going through. Number 6 is to make sure you prioritize yourself. So it's important to recognize that sometimes you need to take time out to focus on your own well-being. Now, this might mean withdrawing temporarily from social media if it makes you feel overwhelmed and drained. However, don't withdraw from the actual real world, real life, because social contact and being around people is actually good for you. Well, everyone, we have reached the end of today's program, but if you would like to share any comments about today's program or any other one of our shows, please do get in touch with us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Until next time, bye-bye for now. Now, what do Daniel Radcliffe, Richard Branson, Cara, how'd you say that, please? They all have lived with dyspraxia, otherwise known as oh no. And I'm going to try and say I can't say it. Oh my God. Developmental.